I'm outside, and so I'm sorry that my glasses go dark, but I'm looking at you. As I think I told you, Denise and I left town, so over the course of the next few days you maybe will want to guess where we're at. But at any rate, it's always a joy to come and just greet you for a little while. And so I keep telling you I'm not going to continue this, or I'm not promising to continue, but today I'm going to talk about Psalm 4. This was actually a prayer of David, and it was turned into a psalm. I don't understand that process, but this was a prayer, and he uttered these words when he was getting ready to flee from Jerusalem. You remember I told you the story briefly yesterday, but in order to avoid an armed confrontation with Absalom, he had to leave Jerusalem. And the story is in 2 Samuel 15. But it says, and there came to a messenger to David, saying, the hearts of the men of Israel are with or after Absalom. And David said unto his servants that were with him in Jerusalem, arise, let's flee, for we shall not escape, else we leave and we make speed to depart, lest he, Absalom, suddenly overtake us and smite the city with the edge of a sword. And the king's servants said unto the king, behold, thy servants are ready to do whatsoever you, our Lord, has appointed. And I told you yesterday, I don't think many of us have been through a situation like this, where our own son, who David had gone to lengths to reach out to be passionate or compassionate to, his son turned on him. And so it's in this context, at that night, as David there was climbing up the Mount of Olives, I believe on the way out of town, that it's thought that this prayer, Psalm 4, was uttered. So the question that David is posing is, at a time like this, what can we expect from the Lord? At a time like this. Now I know there are some of us who are going through really tough times. I know our dear friend Dennis is in hospital awaiting open heart surgery, and then another dear sister lost her husband in the last day or two. And so there's tough times do happen, not maybe of the same sense of betrayal as David experienced, but he says in Psalm 4 verse 1, hear me when I cry, O God of my righteousness. Thou hast enlarged me when I was in distress. Have mercy on me and hear my prayer. So what he's saying what all of us have often said, and that is, Lord, hear us. But then he does something which I think is really good, and I think we should follow the same thing. He rehearses how in times past, when he's been in times of trouble, God has been there for him. So David wasn't just asking for relief or comfort on the basis of no on no basis. He was doing it because he had experienced the comfort of God previously, and so now again he's in distress, and he's saying in verse 1 that he expects the same kind of relief from God this time. Verse 2, O ye sons of men, how long will ye turn my glory into shame? How long will you love vanity and seek after leasing? What he's saying to those who chase him, to those who oppose him, how long are you going to keep this up? Because he says in verse 3, but know that the Lord hath set him apart, which is godly, for himself. The Lord will be near when I call unto him. So he's saying to those forces that are opposing him, you're wasting your time, because I know that God is going to be standing there with me. And so I think even in times like this, when there were all these things were lined up against him, David is saying, I have confidence that he did it in the past. You folks are wasting your time, because he's going to be with me again now. And in this verse 4 he says, stand in awe and sin not with your own heart upon your Lord, and be still. Offer the sacrifice of righteousness and put your trust in the Lord. And so that's what David's exhortation to himself. He's saying that we as Bible-believing Christians should realize that God will help us, and he will be with us in times of suffering. So, you know, if I was able to talk to Dennis, I'd say, Dennis, the Lord's been with you before, he'll be with you again. I'd say to that one that is experiencing loss, Lord, I know the Lord's going to be with you. You know, I think sometimes we always believe that that God will remove the bad. He'll remove every problem. But that's not scriptural. We know nothing is impossible with God, and he could help in any situation. But the problem oftentimes is a problem that he allows us to go through for reasons that I don't fully understand. His help can come, you know, even when he's allowing us to go through troubles, he can be there, he can be encouraging. But sometimes he just allows us to go through tough times. He might not always still the storm. It's great to know he's in the boat. And at the time that we read about, he said, peace be still. But there are other times when I think we go through the storm, and we go through it comfortable that he's in the boat with us. So then if you move on from there, assured of the fact that he is going to be there with us, what else should we expect? And I think it goes on to say that even in the midst of this trouble, David says that we can expect joy. Now, how is that possible? How can David, who is actually weeping as he's climbing up Mount of Olives, on his way running out of town, running really for mercy, not only mercy for himself, but pleading and praying that because he's left, Absalom and his troops won't kill and destroy. But in verse 6 of this psalm it says, there be many that say, who will show us any good? Lord, lift up the light of thy countenance upon us. So Lord, in the middle of all of this, I pray that you're going to lift up your countenance. And then it says, thou hast put gladness in my heart. And then he goes on to say something that's interesting. In the rest of verse 7 he says, more than in the time that the corn and the wine increased. So what's he saying? Remember, he's the king. He's sitting on the throne. He's had the stuff, he's had the trimmings of life. But he's saying, even in the middle of this, I'm experiencing gladness, more than even in the time when things were just looking wonderful. And then again he ends up with a similar thought than we read yesterday, but he says, I will both lay me down in peace and sleep, for thou, Lord, only makest me to dwell in safety. So to me, if David can go through everything he went through, and even in a time of distress, even as he's leaving, running out of town before his son arrives, he's saying, Lord, I have your gladness in my heart. I have confidence. I have peace, and I'll lay me down in peace, and I'm going to sleep. He says, because thou, Lord, only makest me to dwell in safety. So no matter what you're going through tough times, going through good times, maybe the Lord's been good to you this week, well, rejoice. Just know that he's on our side. But if you're going through tough times, and I know many are, just be assured that the Lord is with us. So that's my prayer for you today. My prayer is that even in the midst of pain, you can be filled with joy if you're living in His presence. So that was my thought for the day. Sure love you. I hope you two are doing well, and I'll be back tomorrow with some other thought. I don't know if it'll be the next psalm or if I'll just feel to do something else, but I've been in this little groove for the last few days, and it's just blessed me, and I hope it's encouraged you. So be blessed, and I'll talk to you again tomorrow. God bless.